We begin always with health and healing. Now, consuming large amounts of curcumin, let's say 500 to 1,000 milligrams, that's the bioactive compound present in the spice turmeric, Turmeric. If you've ever had Indian food, which is delicious and nutritious, you would have had dozens of varieties of turmeric. In fact, if you've ever gone to a market, even not in India, but if you went to a market in the United States that specialized in Indian food, you wouldn't see just one yellow turmeric. You'd see dozens of varieties. Now, they may not be that unique to our taste, but they sure are to the people in the country because they have a phenomenal amount of spices they use. That one happens to be extremely healing. And now we're told that it can improve non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and obesity in patients. So this is a major study. Taking curcumin supplements decrease factors that contribute to the two health conditions. People lost weight, and more importantly, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, meaning your liver is fat, that's bad. It's not going to function properly, that's worse. But it's not due to alcohol, which historically was the reason most people's liver was in bad shape. And almost 40% of the American population suffer from that. That's that high fructose corn syrup. That's what we're eating. So curcumin help eliminate that and also help improve the good cholesterol in the body, the HDLs. So you want healthier liver, you want to lose weight and have slimmer waistlines, and fewer inflammatory biomarkers in the liver, curcumin each day. From Johns Hopkins University comes a study about abnormal blood pressure in middle-aged and late-life influences and how it impacts dementia. In a study that spanned 25 years, they looked at data from more than 4,700 participants, and Johns Hopkins researchers have added to evidence that abnormal blood pressure, meaning too high blood pressure, especially from 35 to 50, is going to influence the development of dementia. And that's not good. So that's important. So what we want to get our blood pressure down. How do we do that? Well, lower the amount of sodium you're taking. Stress reduction is important because that'll cause blood pressure. Too much protein in the diet, and we're overeating protein, that'll cause high blood pressure. Okay? Simple things that we could do. Also, garlic helps. Vitamin C helps. Vitamin E. Magnesium really helps with blood pressure. And L-carnitine and coenzyme Q10. So get your blood pressure down and save your life. Also, this is a study about stroke from the University of South Carolina, and it says that aerobic exercise programs can improve your endurance, and especially if you've had a stroke. We have millions of stroke survivors, and they have all seen that unless they really change their lifestyle and start thinning the blood, they can be susceptible to another stroke. That means you got to get the saturated fat from animal proteins and dairy out of the diet. So stroke survivors who completed group-based aerobic exercise programs, and it's similar to what they do in cardiac rehabilitation programs, significantly improve their aerobic endurance and walking ability. So this was sponsored by the American Heart Association and published in their open access journal of the American Heart Association. So if you've had a stroke and you get on a healthy plant-based diet and you exercise aerobically, you're going to improve your physical health tremendously, and there's no need to have a second stroke. Otherwise, a lot of people don't do aerobic exercise. They fear if they do aerobic exercise, they could precipitate another stroke. It's just the opposite. From a study at Korea University, barley sprouts, barley's a grain, barley sprouts can help address fatty liver disease. Now, we have two things to help fatty liver disease. And this is all about the cholesterol, which is a wax-like, fat-like molecule produced by the body and obtained from food. And its main functions are as a building material for cell membranes. And there's a lot of it in your brain. And as a component in the production of certain hormones and compounds that aid in fat digestion. However, High amounts of cholesterol in the blood lead to the development and exacerbation of chronic disease like coronary artery disease and hepatic stenosis, which is fatty liver. And cetosis, I should say. In a recent study published in the journal Nutrition Research, Korean University investigated a compound called hexacosanol, Hexacosanol, that can help lower cholesterol levels. And this natural occurring agent can be found in barley sprouts. And that stops the accumulation of cholesterol via the straightforward mechanism. So eat your barley sprouts, lower your cholesterol. Also from the University of Cologne comes a study about pycnogenol. Pycnogenol is pine bark, Pycnogenol, and L-arginine, Arginine. Now, arginine is known to have the ability in the body to create nitric oxide. That's a good thing. That improves your circulation to the brain, to the feet, but also to the reproductive system. But pycnogenol, used with L-arginine, can help address erectile dysfunction naturally. That's what this study showed. Now, when you consider the tens of millions of men who have problem with erectile dysfunction, this is a big plus because it's not the dangerous type of supplementation that you would have if you took one of the medications that has heart attacks as a side effect. And the body turns L-arginine into nitric oxide, and that serves as a neurotransmitter in the brain and spurs cardiac muscle tissue of the heart to work better and works as a vasodilator. And the vasodilating properties of nitric, N-I-T-R-I-C, nitric oxide, are of particular importance to patients with erectile dysfunction. And the chemical makes blood vessels open wider, thereby increasing the blood flow and allowing blood to reach the tissues that need them. The healthiest eaters are the most culturally fit. University of Wisconsin. What do I mean? According to University of Wisconsin, how to be a healthy eater depends on culture. A recent study shows that in the United States and Japan, people who fit better with their culture have healthier eating habits. The results appear in the peer-reviewed journal Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin. And it's about promoting particular types of healthy behavior as part of a culture. Now, I'll give you an example of this to make it even a little better to understand. If you go to, for example, the mountain area of Italy, where I've been several times, and you sit down to a meal, the culture dictates the meal be prepared slowly and with a lot of care, and they consider things like, as we age, our body has different needs, and they try to include what it needs, like they'll use a lot of herbs in the different foods. This is also true in Korea, South Korea, and in Japan, where they know that the healthiest medicine in the world is your food, and then your lifestyle, and your behavior, and your family. These are all included in the construct of living a healthier life. And they take their time eating. There's no rushing. There's lots of joy and laughter. It's where they bring issues together. They share that wonderful meal together. I've seen that also true in France and in Spain, Portugal. I have not seen that in England, Ireland, Scotland, and Germany. In fact, the most unhealthy food I've ever seen in Europe was in Germany. But be that as it may, if you went to Japan, the nightly bath. Now, it's not done so much today, except if you're older, but historically, you would sit in this little tub on a stool. The water would be coming up to your chest. There'd be a particular type of wood that would cast in this little. You'd step into the little hot water, and then family members would then wash your hair and massage your back and head. You'd get head massage back. There would be aromatherapy in there as well. And it was all part of the ritual. Then they would eat, and they would have to have things like seaweed and starchy vegetables, frequently tofu or fermented miso, and they would have fish. Occasionally they would have meat, but that was less so. And it turns out they had the longest lifespan in the world as a whole culture. Now that's changing because young people want to eat at McDonald's. They don't want to have, that ritualized lifestyle. They don't want to take their shoes off when they enter the house. That's not all young people, but it's certainly a lot of them. And as a result, the lifestyle is changing within the younger population. That's true around the world. But that's what we mean about the best of a culture. Like in Greece, the Greek diet happens to be a very healthy diet, but not just what you eat, but how it's selected. The people going to great lengths to pick the purslane and the other greens. In Sweden, when I was in Sweden and when I was in Switzerland, you could take in the bitters baths, meaning you would go to a spa, and throughout the day you would have little glasses of these very bitter concoctions. And these would generally be grown right there. You could walk in and see them being grown, and they would squeeze them and press the juice out and give you different combinations based upon what you needed. Then you would take these baths, and then you would take a hot bath in one of these tubs or sauna, then you go out into the snow. And they called it air breathing. Now the Japanese do something similar. Again, these are cultural. But here's what we're seeing, and this is all over the world. Not everyone changes the culture of how they have grown up, but a lot of people have, especially a traditional culture trying to compete with slow food, slow conversation versus the speed at the internet and how you communicate and do everything quickly on the internet. So there's a clash, and it does impact people. And finally, from the University of Vermont, magnesium may work better than prescription drugs for treating symptoms of depression. So living with depression is challenging, but it's not about the quick fix in the form of antidepressants. I'm opposed to antidepressants. I've seen the side effects. And although there is some efficacy and only in small individuals, groups within the depression, there are much better ways, more natural ways of dealing with depression. And one of those is magnesium. At the right level, magnesium can work wonders and can absolutely outproduce in results the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories or the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. One last thing, and this is from Ching Hospital in Taiwan. Garlic was able to help people who had allergy-induced airway inflammation, turn off the inflammation in the lungs, and better for the person to breathe. So that's the latest on health and healing. I'm Gary Null, and we're going to take a break and come right back at you. Please stay with us. Nice to have you with us, everyone. I'm Gary Null. Coming down to work today, to the office here in the studio, a person came over to me, and I frequently get stopped on the streets of Manhattan. I've been here a long time, and people ask questions, and I'm happy to answer them if I know the answer. And a person said that they've been using the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories for pain, and they said they have swollen fingers and wrists. They're always in pain. They're taking these. And they asked a question, would CBD oil work any better? They had heard it would. Well, we are in a nation of pain. In fact, more than 25 million Americans every day, that's 11% of the population, complain of constant daily pain. But close to 40 million Americans while they don't experience the pain every day and it's not debilitating, do have to cope with severe pain. We spend $50 billion a year trying to deal with pain. And most of the people use some form of anti-pain medication or opiates, and the opiates lead to a crisis. Even a close friend of mine that I've known for 36 years told me that they went to the hospital and found that there was a big problem, and they had extreme pain in their fingers because of the diet. This person has a terrible diet. And so they said, but they gave me a medication and the pain went away. I said, what was the medication? OxyContin. I said, whoa, you are aware that that kills tens of thousands of people per year and is very addictive. No, I didn't know that. Well, I gave them an insight. So the answer is yes. There are multiple benefits to using the oils, and it depends upon the quality of the oil, but the CBD oil is better than non-steroidal anti-inflammatories for eliminating pain and not getting you hooked on these medications which can kill you and do nothing to change the pain. At least CBD oil can help with the body biochemistry to turn off inflammation in a more natural way and help you respond. It's also good for people with lung conditions like COPD and even brain conditions, and that's important. And before we go further, I just want to mention that now the internet is censoring 5G criticism. That's correct. According to the Alliance for Natural Health, and they just sent me a note this morning, that big tech is nailing him. Now, anyone who heard my progressive commentary hour last night and watched it, it was an extremely powerful presentation by James Corbett of the Corbett Report. The most meticulous, detailed, historical examination of who started the internet, who profits from the internet, who benefits from the internet, and who controls the internet. And it's nothing that we were told. So tomorrow, on our sister station, WBAI, I'm playing last night's program because a lot of people say we're not hip on the internet, so I play it on the local station. In any case, what has happened is over the last few months, as we report, as I've helped 3 separate demonstrations in New York in the last 2 weeks, challenging 5G and writing 2 major articles on it, which are on prn.fm, and broadcasting a program on it. Now, other people are using that information, plus coming up with information other scientists and public health officials are saying 5G is dangerous. Do not allow it. Some communities, such as in Sacramento, have already seen the installation of what they call small cell towers near homes, near schools. And activists in Sacramento started to speak out. And they were on YouTube, and what they were saying was the truth. Here's the danger of 5G. They were immediately silenced. Noah Davidson, an activist in Sacramento, noticed his young nieces started experiencing health problems after Verizon installed a small cell just 45 feet from their home. Other members of the community also started experiencing adverse effects after small cells were installed. Davidson had worked to start a grassroots movement to raise awareness about 5G in the community and to work with telecom companies to establish an opt-out program for those who do not want it. Well, the companies are not allowing an opt-out. And because of Hillary and Bill Clinton, they now have the capacity to put a tower anywhere they want, irrespective of the health damages to humans, animals, or the environment. This is really fascism. But that's what we've been living with for 50 years. It's just been creeping totalitarianism. So what we have now is we have the internet censors not allowing information on anti-vaccines, on anti-GMOs, on challenging cancer establishment, on its failures. So anything that challenges the status quo is being censored by YouTube and Google, and so that's what you have to deal with. All the more reason to use some of the other sites that are not yet compromised. And I say not yet because we don't know what will be happening in the future to them as well. But just understand there are at least 26,000 scientists around the world who've read the literature, 10,000 peer-reviewed studies showing that 5G is dangerous. For example, 5G uses millimeter waves, a shorter wavelength than the current 4G networks in use. And millimeter wavelengths have been used in crowd-control devices that shoot high-powered millimeter waves that make the target feel like their skin is burning. And other research has shown that our sweat ducts can act like antennas for the shorter millimeter waves, meaning we absorb more of this electromagnetic frequency when we sweat. So keep in mind that we will be exposed to electromagnetic frequencies generated by wireless devices on an unprecedented scale for two reasons. First, short millimeter waves cannot travel as far as longer waves, which is why many more small cell units must be installed to create a 5G network. And some neighborhoods would see dozens of small cells installed, all of them emitting microwave radiation. And second, the sheer number of wireless devices will increase. More and more systems are becoming wireless or will become reliant on wireless technology. Now we have the advent of entire smart cities. Whole cities will use wireless networks to collect and analyze data about the environment and traffic and water and transit and lighting and waste management and security and parking. But they're all using these millimeter wave emitting devices that's going to saturate every square inch of where you live. Your body's going to be bombarded 24/7. And for those who are not informed, all of them have the capacity to take information from you and bring it back. For example, all those devices, tell me what the weather is today, and suddenly you hear a voice saying, the weather is, and play that old song, and your song is playing. Those devices are recording everything you say and do. Now, a lot of people have those devices in their living room, kitchen, and bedroom. They're inexpensive. Do you really want everything that you do in your bedroom to be a part of that? I don't think so. But people are uninformed. What I call intentional neglect leads to intentional ignorance, leads to dramatic unintended consequences.